All right. Welcome, everybody, to our second virtual session here. I'm your host, Braden Verge, with First Push Syndicate. I am a physical educator as well as curriculum developer, kind of a do-it-all type of person. So welcome to our session. A couple things before we get started. We do have some guidelines that we like to follow, or really just etiquette while we're participating tonight. We just encourage that you guys are present and engaged, have that video on so that we can see your faces while we are doing our session. If you do need to step away or, sign up for any reason, put like an emoji up that you are away, coffee cup, whatever it might be. For the audio, try to be on mute when not speaking. This helps minimize the background noise and any distractions. Use headphones if possible. When it comes to the chat, use it thoughtfully. Drop questions or comments in there. We'll do our best, myself and Zach, to go through them and give them to you guys so that you can answer them. In fact, actually, right now with the chat, please, put in where you're tuning in from. That way we can kind of see, the range that we have. So click on that chat, type in, like I said, where you're listening from, and yeah, it would be really cool to see, different people. For participation, one mic, one voice. Try to avoid talking over others. We do have the raise hand button on the bottom of the Zoom. So if you do have a question or something that you want to ask Kendall and Chad, raise your hand, or ourselves, Zach and I. But yeah, raise your hand. Try to minimize multitasking. Give your full attention when possible. Our time together is valuable. And yeah, feel free to take notes and keep track of what resonates with you. About us, First Push Syndicate. We are a nonprofit based out of New Hampshire, and our goal is to, create activating and supporting inclusive programs that provide opportunities for school-age children. And we hope to develop leadership, grit, and resilience from that. Our flagship program is the Get On Board program. If you take a look at the map, it started off, based around like New England, way back in like 2010. We kicked that thing off in South Berwick, Maine, and now 2025, if you take a look at the map, we have grown huge. This year, well, by the end of 2025, looks like we might have taught over 100,000 students how to skateboard. It's the Get On Board program has offered adaptive, inclusive equipment and programming since our inception. And now we are on the national scale thanks to our Get On Board Gear grant, which is also awesome because our panel tonight is 2 Get On Board Gear grant recipients. Some upcoming events. In November 17th, we are going to be having Dr. Skateboard as a panel guest. December 8th will be an open session, and then January 12th, we'll be talking to our Get On Board teachers of the years from previous years in the past. We have a ton of conferences coming up. We'll be attending the Massachusetts conference, AFERD conference on November 3rd and 4th. The main conference is November 3rd, New Hampshire on November 6th and 7th, and Pennsylvania will be featured by, featuring a session led by Chad Murren tonight. So a lot of stuff in the works, a lot more conferences coming up. So just, yeah, be on the lookout. Without further ado, our virtual session tonight, we are featuring Chad Murren and Kendall Van Valkenburg. Kendall is a high school ELA teacher and instructional lead out of Red Canyon Alternative High School in Gypsum, Colorado. Chad Murren is a physical educator out of Eastern York School District in Pennsylvania. So we welcome both of you, tonight. Thank you for joining us. Here's their awesome photos that they sent to us. And yeah, we're gonna get this thing rolling. So again, welcome everyone to our first virtual session. Thank you for sharing that chat, where you're tuning in from. Today we're talking with 2 inspiring educators who are redefining what movement and learning can look like in schools, and who are also Get On Board Gear Grant recipients. Like I said, Kendall Van Valkenburg brings an awesome background in project-based learning, community engagement through her skate gypsum project. And then we have Chad Murren with nearly 3 decades in health and PE, has built inclusive, innovative programs that make movement joyful and meaningful for every student. Um, and both of them are preparing, I believe, to Get On Board the program into their schools. And we are here to explore, the why, the how, and what they hope their students will gain from it. So start us off. Love to hear how, skateboarding came onto your radar as educators. What inspired you guys, to apply for that Get On Board grant and bring skateboarding into your program?
I'll start us
And
off. I was actually just looking. It's been almost a year since I made first contact with Matt about Get On Board. So I would guess it was probably around this time last year that our state association, Shape PA, just in one of their monthly newsletters had something about Get On Board, and I didn't know anything about it at the time. Leading up to it, for the last 4 years, I had been trying to bring roller skating into our schools. I've seen some other peer educators across the country that were able to rent roller skates, have the equipment come in for a week or two, do some roller skating with the students. And I know that that's always a big hit with our PTOs at both of the buildings that I teach at. Um, so when I looked at this, I was like, well, if I can't get roller skating, skateboarding has to be just as close, if not better. So I just sent a quick email out to the info, and Matt immediately got back to me, and the how accommodating he was with the amount of information that he shared to me, and I kind of took that and ran with it, took it straight to my administrators. They first were all for it, and then my assistant superintendent said, I have to put on my administrator hat here for a second. We need to talk about safety. So got back to Matt, and actually he created a Zoom for he and I to talk, and Bo actually joined. And between the two of them, the inspiration that they had behind the program, what it can do, it felt like that we were connected as soon as we started talking with what Get On Board's philosophy was and what my philosophy is for teaching my students. And within that probably 45-minute session, got all my questions answered, went right back to the administration, is like, this is something we have to do, and applied for the grant, and it just kind of steamrolled from there, and here we are, and I'm ready to roll. So I'm interested to see how Kendall got involved.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Chad. Really, COVID got us into skateboarding around here. I can see the old skate park from my house, and I noticed in the middle of COVID, kids were at the skate park. And so we were one of the first districts to go back in-person learning, and I couldn't imagine taking kids like back into the school building. So I was like, okay, they're at the skate park. How can we bridge school and skate park? So we have been having skate class with our organization that is like the students developed since 2021, and First Push was the missing piece. You guys found me, and I had a lot of community connections, which made gear accessible to our kids. But First Push found me. We got together, and now our kids have adequate gear to be skateboarding. Between 2021 and 2024, my students headed up a project to improve the skate park in our community. This all like very quickly transpired into them designing and funding an entire new skate park in our community. They did all the grant writing, all of the community connections, all the community advocating. And now I couldn't imagine school without skate class. Those kids have some of the highest test scores in our building. They're engaged in our school. They're engaged in our community. We have over 200 students who've been a part of our organization, and not all of them skateboard. And that's cool. So I I don't know, skateboarding is magic, skate park magic exists, and the First Push Syndicate is the missing piece for us.
Awesome. Before we
Braden,
connect,
can I jump in real quick and just ask Kendall a question, a
of
follow
course
up
you
to
can.
that?
Yeah.
So there is a currently so I teach in my school district's in Wrightsville, Pennsylvania. My other building's in East Prospect, but it's one area. But I'm currently part of a Facebook group. It's the Wrightsville Skate Park Committee. It is a group of very passionate people who are trying to get a skate park built in the community. It sounds like your park was already built when you started this, but
we had an old park built that wasn't adequate, and because the kids went to town council, they got a new park built. So
okay.
we've done the entire process.
That's good. So Jean built that. Yeah.
Ground up.
So at maybe sometime after this, I'm probably going to connect with you because I know that they're very passionate to get a skate park built, and I think it's something that with me now teaching skateboarding to the students of the community, it would be a perfect match. So,
yep, a healthy skateboarding community is a healthy community.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. And of course, like if you guys, this is what this is about. If you guys asking questions, having the conversation. So please feel free to if I ask a question and then you guys want to feed off it for each other, by all means. And both of you, before you connected with Get On Board, obviously Kendall, you had a little bit of background with the skateboarding, but what did you know or think about skateboarding in education?
In our community, the two worlds hadn't crossed from what I knew of. I found out that back in the day there was a skate class, and that's when I joined my the alternative high school that I work at now. That's why the principal was so open to having a skate class and having our kids be involved in any way that they wanted. Because he used to teach the skate class back in 2000. So that's how, I don't know, that went for us. And having administrative support made everything easier because the two worlds don't typically collide. And then as soon as they do, they actually fit perfectly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, have the administration be on your side. That's huge.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about skateboarding in any type of physical education. I feel like I'm pretty adaptable to understanding what's happening with other PE teachers, especially scouring social media to find out other activities that are going. I certainly don't mind stealing from them. I will say I borrow from them. I always reach out to them, but a lot of ideas you find is through what other inspirational teachers are posting. And up until I even got onto First Push's website, I didn't realize that skateboarding was in schools. But now it seems like that it's just drastically increasing, and part of that is most of that is credit to your entire organization with what you're doing with it. Before the meeting started, I told Braden that the work that he's done behind the scenes for documentation, linking standards, coming up with the lesson plans, all important for us as educators when we're trying to pitch this program to administration, when we're trying to come up with identifiable standards and how we're going to meet what our students need. What Get On Board and First Push has created for me as an educator has been exceptional, and I'm really excited to kind of take it and now really push forward with it.
And I'll speak to that a little more. I am an English teacher who did not skateboard before skate class started. I was going to hang out at the kids skateboarded. They forced me to learn to skateboard, and these materials would have made my entire life so much easier. So I think that the resources that have been created and shared really pave the way for non-skaters to grasp the entire concept, and then like the skaters within your community will grasp really easily. I did have a background with snowboarding and wakeboarding, so I'm a board sport person, but we have literally built our entire skate gypsum program while it's been flying. And like I said, having the Get On Board grant is the missing piece. So don't be scared of skateboarding. It's awesome.
And it
I
was
think
like
another thing with that real quick is if you go on and you look at the resources that First Push has provided, physical education is just one. Like I think there's a wellness source there. It talks about community and culture. So there's a lot of learning that goes on that's not physical in nature with skateboarding. Kendall can probably talk more about the whole community impact, but as far as just what I see getting with skateboarding is, yeah, there's going to be that physical part. Specifically, I'm looking at the balance part of it as far as a physical standard. But then if you look at some of the other skills that students are going to have to learn, if through growth mindset and having grit and resiliency, those are all important skills that they have to have for life. And teaching anybody to get over the fear of standing on a board that has rolling wheels, and then allowing them to blossom with that challenge, overcome the challenge, improve success, I think is going to have great benefits for students past what the educational benefits are.
Heck yeah. And Kendall, you work through the skate gypsum project. Shows how powerful it is when students can take the lead. And Chad, obviously, your personal movement approach has helped redefine PE for inclusivity and engagement. So I'm trying to connect that to your plans, for skateboarding. Kendall, how does skateboarding fit within your vision of student-driven real-world learning? And Chad, how does skateboarding align with your philosophy of joyful and purposeful movement?
I'm going to go first on this one, Chad. So I think with my story, it really shared that students were at the skate park. We were heading back into school, and I couldn't imagine just like putting them into our classrooms, sitting in rows, 6 feet apart with their masks on, being like, you've been outside for this many months and now please do school. So students were really into their other hobbies and activities, and I saw enough of our community into skateboarding that I brought the classroom outside. And then their entire question when we started the project was, these were middle schoolers at the time, so 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I said, what can you do to positively impact the skateboard community? And each of the students set their goals, and that driving question, project-based learning, led us to them pitching to the town council, hey, our skate park isn't adequate, it isn't safe, it isn't a place that is desirable in our community. So how could we can improve skateboarding and skate culture in our community by improving the place that we're at. I honestly, in project-based learning, you have an authentic audience. I didn't ever think the town council would be like, yeah, let's do a new skate park. And then the class really built itself from there. So we had kids. Then I was lucky enough to move up to an alternative high school where I had admin support. That admin support completely let skate class keep going, and just every new step of the process, kids were skating every day, but they were also we were driving around to skate parks all over Colorado doing research on what the features would be best for our community. They were able to connect with community members to like get the funds and meet with the town, so the entire rules at the skate park are aligned with the town, but are also like made by the kids. And those kids have now grown up, and some are graduating and moving on, and we have like this new group of kids coming in, and there's so much care for the skate park and the skate community and skateboarding that like I said, we were really building the entire project as the plane was flying, and students drove every aspect of their real world learning, and they got math credit, they got um English credit, they government, they actually got to design the park with Matt Flugie from Grindline, and one of the kids went home and learned a bunch of physics before we went out to the skate park so he could figure out exactly what would happen with his body if he did the things. And I think what's really like I've mentioned the skate park magic thing. What's really important to me is skate parks really, skateboarding in general, really level the playing field. It is like equity at the center of the world because concrete doesn't pick who it's going to pick on. It treats all of us the same. And to be able to bring that into our classrooms and bring that into school, it's awesome. So that's how student driven real world learning and skateboarding all connected to have our students grow up to be awesome community centered adults.
Yeah, that's kind of tough to follow. I told Kendall before that I was a little intimidated coming into this because of the things that she's doing, but I can talk from my perspective. Yeah, you did mention that my number one goal of being especially an elementary phys ed teacher, is that I want to create purposeful movement for my students. I want them to find joy in all of the movements and the motions that they do. And coming from a personal perspective, I was an athlete when I grew up. So, for me, at that point, it was gym class. Gym class was easy for me, but I still remember all of the other, not all, but some of the other students that were in my class that it was their least favorite class from K through 12 because we had PE in every grade level. My sister was not an athlete and she hated phys ed as she went through. And I kind of made it a point to that once I became a phys ed teacher, I wanted to make sure that my classes and my instruction, my purpose was going to be that I wanted to include everyone and have options and opportunities for each student to feel successful. And I feel with skateboarding, it's one of those where it, like Kendall said, it's open for everyone. Um, they're discovering new things. They're, as I said, they're taking chances and kind of, there's going to be imperfections on it and they're just going to keep working. But this kind of centers around with a lot of the other activities that I tried to bring in of taking away team sports, moving in towards not necessarily individual, but activities that everyone can be successful with. I've tried to take a lot of the competition out of my classes so that, individual success is more important than team success. And with skateboarding, it's just, this is another one where, yes, they're going to have to work together. They're going to have to cooperate. They're going to have to collaborate. I've looked at some of the other activities that are in there past the core four, which is what I'm going to start with since my students don't know how to skateboard. And I think it's just going to be a great opportunity for growth for all of my students so that it doesn't matter whether you're an athlete or a non-athlete. If I'm going to find kids that are going to probably, this is going to be their most favorite thing that they do. And there's going to be some kids that maybe not so much, but again, my job is to make sure that I offer an opportunity and experience for a variety of movement, because what I want my students to do, especially when they leave me and move on from middle school, high school, but ultimately as an educator in Eastern York, I want our students to graduate and enjoy movement. And if skateboarding is one movement that they can do outside of school when they're finished, and it allows their body to continue to move with purpose and provide physical and social and emotional benefits to them, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for us as we continue to teach the program.
Heck yeah, you guys both like nailed that on the head. I mean, you guys both touched on how inclusive it can be. Like you said, it takes the competition out of everything, Chad. There's no scoreboard, no set pace. It's just, it can be a lifetime activity. If you look at, Tony Alva is almost in his 70s and he's still skateboarding. It's just that like I said, simple movements that, kids can possibly carry you into a lifetime. And you guys did, like I said, talk about how inclusive it is. You know, my next question was going to be, you know, how do you see skateboarding helping reach students who might not connect with those traditional sports or, you know, classroom settings? Um, you know, you guys kind of like touched on that a little bit, but you know, how do you guys see skateboarding reaching those students who, you know, traditional sports, you know, the team sports might not be their thing? I mean, yes, skateboarding, even though individual, has a really supportive community. Like, you know, yes, you're kind of doing all the tricks and skills, like, you know, you're battling yourself, but you know, you always have like a support group, you know, there. Like someone's always at a skate park or they could be out skating around. um but like, how do you see, you know, skateboarding connecting with those types of students?
I think my crew really speaks to that. They are all alive and they are all on track to graduate. And these are kids that 5 years ago you wouldn't have anticipated all of those things for everybody. Um, Skateboarding has literally like, I don't want to sound cliche. It sounds so cliche, especially like from me, but like skateboarding has saved their lives. Um, and so I think that that's really beautiful. And then you kind of touched on this with um, the skateboarding community, but the mentorship that happens authentically in skateboarding is something like I've never seen in any other sport. Um, I've played a lot of sports. I really wanted to become a PE teacher. Now I'm just a skateboard teacher and a snowboard teacher, which is awesome too. But this like authentic mentorship that happens at skate parks, and I just spend time at skate parks. It could happen in your classroom, in the gym, wherever skateboarding is happening. It could happen in the sidewalk in front of like wherever skateboarding happens, hopefully safely. But this natural mentorship that I see between older people and younger people, it doesn't matter what age people are at the skate park, it doesn't matter ability level. um it just it's unlike anything I've ever seen in any sport. And I was a competitive swimmer. I've coached a magnitude of sports, and I'm always trying to get older athletes to like be that thing that younger athletes can look up to. And at the skate park, and with skateboarding, you never have to mention that. It just naturally happens. And that's part of that skate park magic that that I've coined as a phrase in what I've seen my students um, engage with community members at the skate park, engage with younger students, engage with each other. And I love all your like beautiful words, Chad, of like collaboration and communication. And my kids like run away if I use those words. They have no idea they're collaborating and communicating, and they are doing so naturally and so wonderfully. And that is because of skateboarding.
Yeah, when I read this question prior to the meeting, the first thing that came up to me was like a phrase of community through encouragement is what I foresee happening with this. Because we don't have a local skate park anywhere near our school, and I'm not aware of too many students who skateboard. I don't see anyone skateboarding. I mean, maybe there might be a few here and there. But for me and my students, this is going to be where everybody's going to start at step one. And there's not going to be anybody who's going to be the expert or who has been playing this for 3 or 4 years or is on a travel team that has the experience. So this is going to create an atmosphere, I think, for every student that goes and steps on the skateboard for the first time of, hey, we're all in this together. And, you know, we're all going to take our lumps and we're going to have some wipeouts and we're going to cheer each other on when it happens and, you know, pick each other up after it occurs. And I'm hoping that it creates this community of acceptance for all of the students of realizing, hey, look, we're all in this together. This is something that we've never done before, so we're all on equal footing here. And you'll eventually see some students who are going to become more proficient that faster than others. But I would then hope that that encouragement through community starts to take those students who do develop a little bit faster, that they're able to take other ones under their wings, kind of teach them, coach them along. And I'm hoping that it just starts to progress that way at each year that we go through, that we start to get, the older students that can come back and talk and work with the younger students, and just build this natural progression as we go through.
And while we're on this question, I think this probably fits in right here the best. But I have a student who shared a paper with me that she wrote for her college class. And this is her midterm. And so really non-traditional student. And she's enrolled in college classes, and she goes on to write she's a roller skater. She can also skateboard, but she's really taken off with roller skating at the skate park. It's taught me that you can think you're on a straight path in life, but the reality about the future is anything you want it to be, even if it's not what's originally in mind. Skate class has literally taught me to get back up when you fall. And the years of practice makes it so I barely fall anymore, doing tricks and spins, dropping from 10 feet, maybe eating concrete, but always with a smile on my face, apologizing to my bones, dealing with the pain, but making me stronger. Having this patience with myself allows me to teach others about the things I'm passionate about. And then goes on to her job this winter, teaching snowboarding to little kids.
That's awesome.
I just want to add one more thing here, and that's from the first meeting that I had with Matt and Bo. Bo was talking a lot about success stories that First Push has had with skateboarding is used as a form of regulation for students. And that really connected with me, as he said, there was, we've had stories of students that were just traditionally off task, behavioral problems, but skateboarding clicked with them, and it became a source of regulation for them, that they found success in that activity, which then transferred to success in other forms of areas of school, which then continued to success in life. So that was a big selling point for me when he talked about that. And I know Kendall kind of brought that up as well. So I'm excited for this to be an opportunity for some students that maybe necessarily wouldn't find success, but because we're offering a non-traditional activity, it might become something that's extremely powerful for them.
Yep. No, you guys both I mean, it's I had a niece, she lived with us for a bit, special needs, and it was that vestibular input, that constant motion. And so again, I told both of you, I have like 5 skateboards here. She could scooter, and you're watching her scoot around. She had she had a lot of stuff. But you watch her scoot around, it's like you don't even think she has, you know, any disabilities. Same thing with the skateboard. I mean, she couldn't stand on it, but she was kneeling, sitting. It was just that vestibular input. I mean, it would just regulate her body, and it was just like she was just in that a state of flow is the best way to describe it. So no, it's definitely, it is amazing what you notice or see as an educator with your students who are participating, just in skateboarding in general. Um, looking ahead, as you guys are both, preparing to get on board into your schools. Obviously super exciting. Let's talk about what the processes look like or will look like for you. Um, how did you launch, or how are you preparing to launch the Get On Board program?
I'll start here. So I'm currently in the preparation phase. I've just started putting my boards together, which for me is going to be a challenge because I'm not a very handy person. So hopefully my co-teacher at the elementary level, I text him today. I was like, "Here's what we have. Here's what we need." I said, I'm not sure what we need. I said, "I think we're going to need a big Phillips head screwdriver," and he's like, "I got all the tools. We'll take care of it." But for me, fortunately, as you mentioned, I'm going to present at the state conference in a month. So that's going to kind of be my kickoff, where I'm going to be able to get all hopefully the wrinkles worked out with a group of adults that might be a little bit more understanding as to some of the mistakes that I'll make. But with the kids, once we get started, I'm going to stick with kind of just the basics. I'm going to go through the core. We're going to do the core 4, so the 4 lessons. I'm going to stick with my grades 3, 4, and 5 because I think that they'll be able to keep up with that. I would like to do some bodyboarding with my younger students. I already have some of the primary grade students asking about when, we use Canva. We use Clever as like our school platform to house like classes and messages between teachers and students. And at least once a week since the school year has started, I've gotten at least one message from a student saying, when are we going to skateboard? So the anticipation is there. They know about it. Parents know about it. I had a grandma ask me today about it. She was in volunteering at the library for the book fair, and she was talking about it. And she's like, yeah, she's so excited. And I was like, well, we're not going to be doing, she's not going to stand on it. She's only in first grade. We're not standing there, but we will get them out. We're going to get them rolling around on their bellies. We can definitely do some things with that. So I'm fully ready and prepared to go. I think it's going to be a hit. I'm worried that once we're finished with it, that they're going to want to continue, but there's other objectives that I'm going to need to get through. And then long term, what I'd really like to do is get this implemented with my intermediate students this year, maybe next year. And I'd really like to have it progress into the middle school next. Like I said, I was looking at some of those resources that were just released, and it seemed like there's, especially with the cross-curricular activities, it looked like there was a lot of middle school based things in there specifically for the STEM and the social studies. So I'd really like to have that push there. And then ultimately, since we have the gear, I'd like to get it into our high school as well. But I think it's going to be a little bit slower progression to get there. But I'm excited. The kids are excited. We're ready to roll. It's just a matter of getting the boards together and rolling out and seeing how it goes.
You've got it, Chad. You've got a big vision there. I love it. It's gonna go great. It literally will just like roll out. Anyways, I'm really grateful Bo and Matt and Zach have trusted me to be continuing with the program that like Skate Gypsum has. So we received our helmets last spring for skate class and really just did like a safety foundation for our community. Most of my students already skate. So because there's so much anticipation and excitement for skate class, that's just kind of how our school works. They can apply for the classes they want to be in at the high school level. And then this fall, we had a huge community mural project that has been a dream of students for years, and that finally got rolled out. So this next year now, like 25, 26, we have our first middle school teacher who's been willing to take on the challenge of getting skateboarding into the PE curriculum. We've had it as like a separate project-based interest curriculum at the middle schools, but now we'll have it like in PE. And First Push has made that possible. Get on Board Grant has made that possible because of gear. So that teacher will take this on, and then I anticipate that they'll see so much excitement at the middle school level again that we'll see more teachers at the younger levels be willing to bring this into the classroom. I think it's kind of scary to take a group of kids to a skate park and be like, okay, go, don't die. Which they wouldn't, but I love that with the Get On Board materials and First Push materials, we have all the safety as the core. So kids really have a foundation for that, and staff has a foundation for that. So anyways, that teacher will be teaching that this year, and we'll see if my crew wants to go support in the classroom. Again, they lead everything we do. So that's hey guys, do you want to do this? And then our next skate class will run next fall. We just wrapped up our skate class.
Shout out to Matt for the safety on the training videos. Him doing the check of his elbows and knees and helmet. It sticks with me every time I see it. I get a little chuckle out of it, but I like that little process that he does.
That's the best. That is the best. And we did actually like a film. I mean, I don't know how many sessions we've filmed of you, Matt, doing that, but we got some good ones in there. We got some good clips. um, what impact do you guys hope that skateboarding will have on your students inside and outside of class? Um, you know, do you hope students, schools, and the school, what do you hope like the school, the students, the community take away from this new adventure? Obviously, it'd be a new adventure for you, Chad, Kendall. Obviously, it's been kind of like it sounds like it's just ingrained into your community, which is pretty awesome. But what impact do you guys hope that skateboarding will have on your students? Like I said, inside and outside.
So I'm going to tie this directly to my school district. We have it's our portrait of a graduate. It's 7 dispositions that we want our students to graduate with. And I'm going to just read them off, and then I think we can all agree that skateboarding is going to meet every single one of those check marks. So our 7 portrait of graduate dispositions are citizenship, collaboration, communication, creative thinking, critical thinking, growth mindset, and integrity. So I don't know how me teaching skateboarding is going to be a direct correlation to those 7 skills of what we want our students to graduate as. So that's what my hope and my expectation is, that I'm taking everything that our school district wants our students to graduate and be, and I'm going to use skateboarding as the platform to get them there.
Yes, Chad. And as you know, like modeling it is taking those risks, modeling it, all those things are what gets kids to buy in, especially those kids that don't always buy in. And that's why I learned to skateboard. So it's wonderful.
We do, and we use it's funny, Chad. We use the exact same. I think ours is portrait of a learner, but exact same thing. So yeah, hit the nail on the head. How you guys know that your program is successful? Whether that's a few months or a year from now.
For us, you guys are like so big picture on this and I love it. I'm going to be more like really specific. I want my students to have a sense of belonging within our community. I want them to know that they are a important part of our community. They have all the skills within themselves to show up and do whatever they can dream. And so continuing to have a place that is fostering a sense of belonging for everyone is really important to me. And I have been with this crew of kids since they were 6th graders. A lot of them are graduating last year or graduating this year. I hope that it's not just a bubble. I really would love to see the Stoke continue in our community. And I'm looking forward to the opportunities to continue on board.
Yeah, Kendall hit that straight on with being big picture, and I love the big picture. I'll keep it more micro for right now, but 3 things that I thought about when I read this question was really thinking about what the ultimate outcome would be. I think this is going to be working when my kids can fall safely and get back up, not just physically, but understanding the failure of trying something new that maybe they've never experienced before, working through it and adapting to get better at it. The second thing that I think that I'm going to see success with, and I kind of talked about this before, is when I'm going to get the kids that used to hang back and not want to participate in phys ed, when they start stepping forward and wanting to lead or help others. I'm looking for that as being a big cultural shift. And then the third is, while we don't have a lot of skate community around, we do have very accessible snowboarding mountains. So I would like to see this transition to it once they can understand how to roll on a board, that they might want to take this into another lifetime activity of snowboarding outside in the winter. So kind of the 3 big things that I'm hoping to see as we start getting this implemented.
I just realized I was on mute. And, for everyone that's watching today, what is some advice that you give to other educators who are curious about bringing skateboarding into their schools?
You'll never regret it.
Interesting. Yeah, I this is kind of the message that I'm going to have to share when I go to the state conference. But I I got my first and only skateboard when I was in 5th grade. So let me think about where I was in 5th grade. It was certainly the 80s, so skateboarding was big back then. But never really had any success. Skateboarding is why I just never continued with it. But I don't necessarily think that this is about skateboarding. I think this is about believing in kids, wanting to provide an opportunity for all kids to be successful in movement. So if this is just going to be the platform that you use to get there, it shouldn't be any different than any other activity that you would teach, as long as you're centered around the philosophy of you want everybody to find purpose and joy in movement. This is just another opportunity to give kids to do it. So yeah, I love what Kendall said. I don't think I can say it any better. I should have just probably just kept myself on mute and stopped there. So
No, it was good. And I mean, obviously, I don't want to say like it's dark, but it's tough to think about right now. But, you know, have you guys, or, what would your plans be, for the program if you were to, or when it's your time to move on, whether that's retirement, you move to a different school, or, as such.
I'm hoping that the community that I'm creating at my elementary schools with teaching is going to be something that will live on after me. I'm hoping that it's not for a long time. I would say that I have at least 8 more years. So I should be able to build a very strong skateboarding program between now and then. That, again, if I can get my vision to come true and already have it progress into the middle school and high school at that point, I'm hoping that it's something K to 12. So once it becomes a district-wide thing, if I'm not there, it's just going to continue to represent itself. So everything that I do has meaning behind. Let's make something that's purposeful now, but can continue in the future. So I'm trying to make it future proof with everything that I teach. So hopefully this is just another step in that cog in that step. Is that right? Cog in the wheel in the cog. I don't know. Anyway, Kendall.
I'm still laughing on that. I feel like when I got into teaching skateboarding, I spent a lot of time on the skate gypsum project. Like, it was all student driven and student going, but I didn't know how to skateboard. I didn't know how to build a skate park. I didn't know how to write RFPs. I didn't know how to engage with community members. I wasn't a grant writer. So I got so deep in that I put my personal life on hold and completely dove into education and skateboarding and the skate culture in our community. And I was blessed with a beautiful baby girl 2 years ago, and so my entire time since I was able to get pregnant has been taking the reins off of the skate gypsum and letting the kids grow up to have it be what they want it to be, as well as, like, having such a healthy skate I mean, we have a really healthy board culture in our community, just living in Eagle County, Colorado anyways, but, it's been really intentional to be able to take a step back so I can be a mom and a good mom and, also a good teacher. So, there's great community members that we pair with that has youth skating. They're not in the schools yet. That's the hope and the dream, but, like I said, if this has been such a and Braden, you said this and it was beautiful. Like it's kind of ingrained in our culture. I think that kids will expect that they get to come to our school and be a part of this culture. And kids don't even have to be part of our school to be part of our like skate gypsum community. So we're really trying to get it to a place that it's just running itself. And with our community supports, that's awesome. And the point that I'm trying to get to is that it was the having the boards and the helmets in the school that was our barrier. And so now we have that. So now if we have those supplies available, I think that we have enough young, awesome, engaged, boarding, loving community members that move to Eagle County and teach for a little while, that if we can be like, and here is the stuff, they'll be like, okay, great. That's awesome. And then the people that stay here, the locals, will expect that it's part of the community because they've built it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you both for your stories and your answers. Right now we can open up to the floor. So audience, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat or unmute yourselves if you'd like to share. And if you are curious, Zach just did drop in the chat. Kendall Chad's journeys are on Instagram, so you can follow at Skate Gypsum and at CES__phys ed. So take a look at the chat if you want to continue following Chad and Kendall. But like I said, if anyone's got some questions for our two panelists, fire away.
I don't have a question, but I would like to say that I really appreciated last month's session with Andrew and Chris from Ability, and especially Tyler. Oh my gosh, Tyler, like what a that kid has a strong head on his shoulders. What he's doing, I think, he's only a junior, is that correct?
Yes.
Like that, his story and his journey is amazing for being a junior in high school. Like I was truly impressed.
I definitely think Bo can add more to that. I mean, he's Bo? He started in 8th grade, right?
Yep, we got partnered with him in 8th grade. He used to come to the skate park. So like back to our original roots, he came when he was a little kid. And then we did get on board at the school that he grew up going to. And then in 8th grade, they reached out for an ELO. And I was like, oh, this is a good project for Matt. Like something outside the normal get on board realm. So Matt started mentoring him right away as well. So it's been more of a co-mentor thing. And so he's in his 4th school year with us. And he originally started because he just wanted to raise money to set kids up with prosthetics for sports. And then I think along the way, we helped him realize like they're like $14,000, $15,000. And we just basically guided him into starting to develop like adaptive skate gear. And so we'll resource him, be like, what do you need? Drop an Amazon order or a regular order at his house. And he works with his stepdad and just started building things. And yeah, he's a super special kid. Not sure, like he doesn't know what he wants to do. He's only 16 years old. And so we continue to talk to him. And I'm trying to actually put him into a social impact program. And though after that adaptive session, like he didn't realize that there was actual degrees and you can go get a master's in adaptive PE. So I can talk more about him, but somebody actually just dropped a question in the chat. So if Braden wants to do it.
Ooh, I'll do it. So we have a question from Allison. Chad, if kids are excited about the program and want to do more, do you anticipate a potential for an after-school program at Canadochly in the future as well? Also, will elbow, knee, wrist guards be available in addition to the helmets for safety equipment?
All right. So we'll answer the second part of the question first. We do have elbow and knee pads. They came with the grant. We don't have wrist guards. And I don't know if you guys want to chime in on that. if you feel that they're not needed, especially for the type of skating that we're going to do. As far as the after school program, certainly. I mean, it's always an option, and I'm always looking to do extra things. So we'll see if the anticipation exceeds the expectations, and then we have a super successful program. Yeah, we can certainly look at doing something with that, and that's something that I can talk with Mrs. Kondratic later. But yes, it's a possibility. And then, Bo, you said you wanted to talk about the wrist guards.
Yep. I can't remember. I think we have a write-up about wrist guards somewhere. Maybe we can share it. So after almost 20 years of running the skateboard park, some of the most catastrophic injuries that we had were when kids were wearing wrist guards. And it comes down to, it isolates the wrist, and they would end up with compound fractures in their arms. So their radius and their ulnar snapping over the top of the wrist guard. So instead of having 3 points that absorb shock and bend, wrist, elbow, shoulder, they were then limited to 2. And so we had that happen multiple times. We had, the local ER, we were good friends with them. We pumped through 50,000 kids a year, and then under 1% injury rate, which is really low. So for anybody worried about that. And then the next thing that started to happen, we had a kid break a tooth one time and couldn't totally figure out why. And it wasn't until we did the wrist guard research that there is a whole thing where when kids wear wrist guards and they fall, they're not strong enough to maintain the frame of their body when their hands hit the ground, and their arms slide out and their face hits the floor. And so on a gymnasium floor, which tends to be slicker, we can't back the use of wrist guards for that. Now, if there's an injury, which I think we send every teacher at least one set of wrist guards, you get it in your teacher box, I believe. If there's an injury, you wear it for extra support. But as a primary thing, they're kind of, they have their place, but not necessarily in this program is where I confidently leave it. Hope that takes care of it.
Yeah, and I can follow up again, especially with just introducing skateboarding and the core 4. Our main goal is going to be to get a student to know what a skateboard is, to be able to get on a skateboard and get from point A to point B. So we're not going to get into any, big tricks or anything that we should have to worry about too much with safety. And we're certainly going to have mats up on the floor as well for when they're rolling, especially the first few times. If they do tumble, it should be onto a softer surface.
And elementary kids, they're so low to the ground as it is, which is always nice.
And my kids go really big and have for a long time, and we haven't had injuries, knock on wood. So I think sometimes our perception gets that skateboarding equals injury, and my reality has been really different in the practice. But I hear your question. Great questions.
Awesome.
If anyone, if anyone wants any further information on safety, feel free to drop me a note in the chat, and I'd be happy to email you along any of our additional information that we have. We have quite a bit of resources and kind of backdated research. I can't access it right now, but I'm really happy to share that with you at a later date.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Matt. I was actually just about to say, I was like, Matt created a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, and we do have, anything that we discussed today, you can email us, or you can email Matt. Zach just put in the chat, put his email right in there, so you can reach out to Matt. And today's conversation, really highlights how skating can be just so much more than just a sport. It's a platform for confidence, creativity, and connection. Kendall and Chad, thank you, for being here tonight, and continuing to grow the Get On Board community. Thank you to everyone who joined us today for this session. We can't wait to see how your students respond. Once those boards hit the ground running. We got some additional information up on the screen. So we do have, like I said, our next virtual session, November 17th, 7:30 is going to be with Dr. Skateboard. Bill Robertson is a professor at UTEP, and his big focus is on STEM education. For general information for us, you can visit our website, www.firstpush.org. For any program inquiry, you can email us at learn@firstpush.org. Scan the QR code, subscribe to our newsletter. We have a lot of good resources and, kind of like what we're doing for that month, as that monthly newsletter goes out. Again, thank you guys all so much for joining us tonight. And keep rolling.